go. And then it goes.
Hi there, long time no see everybody. This is Outcast 5 here with another commentary. I know it's been quite a while since I've come out with a commentary. I apologize for that. You know, I've had a real hard time grinding for Navy Fuel lately, especially with all the crashing and such. But that's something I'm not here to talk about right now. I'm here to show some gameplay footage of the newest BB6 just recently released. This is the Soviet BB6. I think it's a Project 24. God, I should have looked that up before I made this commentary. I'm going to look like an idiot if I'm wrong, but you know what? I'm not going to let that slow me down. It wouldn't be the first time somebody thought I was an idiot. But anyways, yeah, I'm just getting some gameplay footage of it. I know it's not going to be the best gameplay footage. It was kind of rushed. You know, I didn't want to play a bunch of games and go for some all-star footage out of, 20 games. You maybe have one all-star game that I would consider YouTube worthy, but I figured it'd be better to put something out than nothing. So hopefully people can just get a bit of a feel for what the BB6 is like by watching this video. And I'll just go ahead and say right away, it definitely does have some flaws. I'll get to those in a minute here, but right now I'm going to show just kind of engagements. I can tell this Super Yami was really wanting to rush me, and I was right. He went nose in on me. He sees that the Soviet BB6 only goes 35 knots, the absolute slowest of all BB6s, and so he tried to take advantage of that, and I give him credit for that. But right there, I land a nasty salvo. I believe that was 35K or so with just my front guns landing, so I got a little bit lucky. I will go ahead and admit. And what you're going to see here, let's pretend like this didn't happen. I'm going to whiff 2 shots pretty bad on a stationary crippled Super Yami. But like I said, we're all going to pretend like that didn't happen just for the sake of my dignity. But that Super Yami's taken care of. That was something that definitely had me sweating. And very typical of GB2s, our flagship just disconnected. Thanks, buddy. I mean, I understand it might not have been your fault, but that doesn't make it any less annoying. And get a nice salvo on that Sevastopol rushing there. And I was actually kind of worried about him too. You know, the ship, it's not something you feel confident in when you're using. At least for me. When I was using the Soviet BB6 here, I was always worried. I was constantly, oh god, see, I team killed somebody. But I was constantly worried about getting rushed. Because 35 knots, you're not going to run away from anything. You're like molasses on a, cold winter morning. That's about how fast you are in this Soviet BB6 of Project 24. And another bad thing, as you saw, is you tend to get groupies. People haven't seen the Soviet BB6, so they kind of want to sail next to you and get a good look at you. And unfortunately, that guy got more than a good look at me last game. He got a couple shells. And, wasn't really, I don't know, I'm not going to say it's entirely his fault. I should have probably looked a little better. But anyways, we're here on to another gameplay. I'm just speeding it up for the sake of, saving time and just getting as much action as possible. Not much is happening here. I get torp bombed, and at the time I thought it was a sub. I knew there was a sub south, but just then I see he's on our other BB6, the Nebraska there, so that was just a mistake on my part. And he goes down pretty quickly. Not entirely his fault either. The sub did get him in a pretty bad position. And the sub sees the juicy, tasty morsel that is the Soviet BB6, and I knew he was coming for me. I mean, I believe the sub's underwater, the KM sub at least, it can still go like 34 or something underwater, so he's pretty much got my speed matched, which is really depressing. So, as you can see, he's spewing his torpedo men's into my aft of my Soviet BB6, and I'm just trying to run like hell, honestly. This game is going downhill very quickly. As you can see, only 4 BBs left on our team, and this is just 3.5 minutes into the game, so this was pretty much from the get-go a doomed battle. But I do what I think I'm pretty good at, and I try to make the best of it. I just keep running. I try and take my enemies one engagement at a time, and I try and hit them too, but it didn't happen there. So just like earlier, we're going to pretend like that didn't happen. But anyways, yeah, I try and engage my enemies one at a time, because if you try and take on 3 enemies at a time, it doesn't matter how good of a player you are. A lot of times you're just going to get sunk, because all it takes is a couple salvos and it's pretty much game over. You're going to be crippled and you're going to get, you're going to get caught. They're going to catch up to you. So what I did here is I neutralized what I considered the biggest threat, which was at the time this pesky little submarine, this underwater flotation device spewing nuclear torpedoes. Is it really flotation device? Because, like, can submerge. I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent. But here we got a BB6 rushing me. So here's another, or here's one of the first BB6 engagements you'll see. And I see he's in range. He goes faster than me. So I knew I had to make a move. I had to be aggressive, and I had to turn in, because I'm not going to run away. This fat cow is not getting away from any BB6 unless he has a skeleton crew of engineers and goes 22 knots and, perhaps some other disabilities. I don't even know. But anyways, I land a great salvo on him. It was just that aggressive gameplay. I got under his max angle, which a lot of people are overly comfortable with, but when you get in under that angle, sometimes you can, it can go either way. It can be dangerous, or if it's the best option, it's sometimes just what you got to do, and you got to take the risk in the hopes that he's not going to get the correct angle on you, and you are going to get the correct angle on him. It's kind of relying on your own skill and relying on the chance that perhaps he isn't as skilled under max angle. But anyways, this game is still going downhill. It's pretty much at the end, and I just planned on getting as much attack as I can. I get a lot of games like this where I'm one of the last BBs left, and all I can do is just try and get as much attack, take as many BBs with me as I can. And my teammates really aren't helping. They're giving me pretty good vision now that I look at this, but they're just totally boxing me and giving me no room to maneuver, and I'm constantly worried about shooting my own CVs. As you can see, they're very close, but it's winding down. I've got very little soft defense left, and there we go. Next salvo will definitely kill me, so I'm just hoping to get a nice salvo on the H-44 in there. I get a pretty decent one, and he does hit me, and it's just about game over, and here we go. I go ahead and take him with me. I was kind of proud of that. I mean, it wasn't the greatest game. 190k attack in a BB6 really isn't nothing to write home about. It's not exactly a score I like to brag about, but it's pretty sad compared to the rest of my team here. Looking at Bravo now, they really just didn't perform, didn't assist in any way, and I'm not going to blame the other BB6 because he did get ganged up on by that sub, so it's kind of out of his control. I'll go ahead and admit that. But as you saw, it really was just up to me that game. And here we got another game with BB6 engagement, so I wanted to get this clip uploaded on YouTube as well, because I think that's what most people would want to see, is how the Soviet BB6, not only how well it does in a GB, but primarily, I just whacked my mic, I hope that isn't loud as hell, but primarily how it does against the other BB6s, and I really tried to get that in the one day that I filmed this. So here's another clip of that, and if I remember correctly, after I biff it on this Kate Moss skinny BB here, I eventually engage the BB6, and I think I get caught in a bind where it's another case of he's in range of me, he goes faster than me, I have to turn in to try and avoid a crisis. If I just keep trying to run, he's just going to be, sitting at max angle, not sitting, but he's going to be coming in at me max angle, and he's going to have a really easy time sinking me most of the time. And so here it's coming up here soon, I know it is, where we both are kind of in that limbo, that area where we're both just about max range of each other, and one of us decides to, make a drastic move rather than kind of kiting each other, as a lot of people will say, which is where you just barely stay out of range and hope that the other guy makes a mistake, which can be good gameplay, but it doesn't always work. And see here, I nose in, and he noses in, and from here, the hunt is on, pretty much. I just turn straight in because I know I'm not going to get away from his salvo, so I'm trying to mix up my distance, try and get him off his angles, you know, I'm cutting away, you know, the first time I cut in, then I cut away, and then here I'm going to cut in one more time and hope to dodge it. I take very little damage from that salvo, and I land a very nice salvo on him, which was kind of lucky. I'll go ahead and admit that. It wasn't entirely skill, but that salvo was absolutely crucial. And it's unfortunate that with this BB6, there are some salvos like that that are very, very crucial. They are absolute dire situations where you have to hit with almost all your shells, or you're just going to be sunk. And it's really a difficult ship to use, is the best way I can explain the Soviet BB6. It's not a terrible BB6. I mean, there are a couple things good. From what I gathered in my couple battles with it, it has about Nebraska range, I believe, which is pretty good. That's more than, you know, manageable. The shell damage is just about Kaiser's, I think, which is, you know, it is what it is. If there was other things buffed on this, I think that would be fine, having Kaiser shell damage, but when you consider it has Kaiser shell damage and goes 35 knots, it's really, really difficult to use this ship correctly. You know, people complained about the Kaiser when it came out. Oh my god, you know, this ship only goes 37 knots while the others are 39, 40 knots, whatever. But here we have the Soviet BB6, which is 35 knots, and it's just absolutely dreadful. It really limits the options that you have. Your options are either to use the high angle, the 45 degree, and to do, as I mentioned earlier, kite, quote-unquote, people, and just stay outside your max range and hope they're going to rush into where you're firing the shells. Oh, and here's a little matrix dodge. I was kind of happy. I was proud of myself. Okay, it wasn't that great. Don't make fun of me. But the thing with the BB6, as I said, and unfortunately that's the end, so you guys get to stare at a black screen. Maybe I'll throw up an image to distract you so you don't just close this. But real quick, just recapping, it's very difficult to exceed with this BB6. It just doesn't have enough pros to outweigh its cons, is basically what this comes down to. You know, its pros, like I mentioned, the Nebi range is pretty good. That's about second most range, just under Kaiser. Its shell damage is pretty bad. The speed is absolute worst, hands down. I think that needs to be put up to at least 37 knots if this is going to be a competitive ship. And that's just to make it competitive. At this point, it's really, really difficult. I mean, if it's in the hands of a good player, he can probably do well. But give that same exact player a better BB6, and he's going to do better. That's just what it comes down to. And I hope I didn't leave anything out on this. I know I have a tendency to kind of ramble on sometimes, but I try and, you know, deliver the best of my commentating abilities. And I know that a lot of people probably wanted to see this BB6, as it's very new and it's very limited supply of it on the server. So I figured I'd go ahead and upload this video so people could get a, you know, a first-hand view. But anyways, this is Outcast 5 with Vets Fleet again. I'll be signing off here, and I hope y'all enjoy my video. And if you do, rate, comment, subscribe, do whatever you can to help, because it takes a lot of time to make these videos and edit them and everything and upload. So I'll catch you guys later, and have a good day.